Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Renee Brownfield, and I am with the NEIC, and I am here to welcome you to this session. You'll notice as you're joining that you will not be able to unmute, but we do recommend that you answer any questions or ask any questions in the chat, and we will get to those promptly to be able to answer anything that you might have. If you are needing credit for this session, you will have Slido options, and you can see some details on the screen here. And just as those Slido options pop up, you will want to answer those just so that we can verify that you're still with us. We'll go ahead and turn our session over to Lauren Bandel here in just a second. Lauren is a product owner with the Information Technology Group at the NAIC, and she has been with the NAIC for 5 years and is responsible for leading internal and external requirements, discovery sessions, collaborating with UI and UX designers, and communicating business requirements to the development team. She's currently a product owner for the 3-year SERFF modernization project, which she's going to be talking to today. So we'll go ahead and turn that over to Lauren.
Thanks, Renee. All right, today's presentation is going to be a SERFF modernization project update focused mostly on the filer workflows. Today, the agenda for today, you're going to start with a very brief project intro and overview, then jump right into a demo of our new SERFF platform, and then finish up with some information about our first release and how you can be prepared and keep up to date with that. So for the project overview, we always want to start with our drivers for change. These are our reasons for the modernization project. We did a business and technical assessment of SERFF to determine if the application needed to be modernized. And when it was determined that, yes, we did need a modernization, these were the reasons for that modernization. And it really boils down to a need to move from some of the manual data entry to more analysis and intelligence in the system, because those insurance products are becoming more innovative and complex, and our organizations are becoming increasingly resource constrained, so we need the system to be a little bit smarter. Also, the underlying technology of SERFF is fairly outdated, and it would make it difficult to integrate some of these new and improved capabilities, so we needed to upgrade that underlying technological architecture as well. These are some of our key feature improvements that we are bringing to the new platform that we're very excited about. I'm going to show a few of these in the demo, so I'm not going to spend much time going over them, but really worked hard to streamline that filing creation, particularly that compact filing wizard that is 13 or 14 steps today. We've really narrowed that down to 3 steps in the new platform by being able to implement a lot of integration and business logic in that process. The rest of these, I think I am showing for the most part, except for the self-service user management, where today we get thousands of user management tickets to our NAIC help desk to add users, deactivate users, change their roles. And we wanted to make that more user-friendly so that there's less load on our help desk, but also you are not having to wait for your ticket to be taken up and that work to be completed. So we've made those capabilities mostly self-service in the new platform, so you will be able to add your own users, deactivate them, and change their roles if necessary. I am going to hop right into the platform, new platform demo, because I have a lot of information that I want to share and show today, and not a lot of time to do it. So I'm going to switch over here. Now this is going to be fairly high level because I do have limited time today, but if you have questions on anything that you see, please feel free to put those questions in the chat, or I will be sharing an email address that we have for the project. So if we don't get to your question today, send that to that project email address and we will follow up with you. First thing I want to share is our dashboard. So this is what you will see when you first log into the new platform. You probably, the first thing you notice, it looks a lot different than what you see today. We really wanted the dashboard to be a place that you can work out of. You can see outstanding work, tasks that you need to complete face up. You're not having to dig around and do a lot of searching to find that information. I'm going to start with this filing subtab of the dashboard, but I will be talking about the task management tab a little bit later. Now, because we wanted this dashboard to mainly focus on work that is in progress, The dashboard will only show filings that are either in draft or an open status. If you would like to see closed filings, we do have a find filings feature in the new platform that is more of a advanced search feature that does include those closed filings. So if you needed to find a closed filing to reference something, do some research, those are still there, but the dashboard is focused on those filings that are in progress. You'll also be able to filter down if you want to see just open, just draft, or draft and open together, which I have selected now. And then the next section down are the charts. We wanted to provide ways for you to be able to slice this filing data, to be able to see the information in a really great visual way. And we know that not everybody needs to see the same information because roles and responsibilities are different for our users. So this is where the first piece of customization in the system comes in. We really want the new platform to be very customizable for our users. So we will be providing a list of ways that you can slice that filing data, and then you will be able to select the two that apply to you. So I've just changed this first chart here to filings by TOI. These charts are also interactive. So you can see my list of filings here has 15 items, but if I go up here and I select just one of these TOIs, you see that TOI now shows in that type of insurance filter, and this list only has the two filings that have that same TOI. So these are interactive as well as being kind of visually informative. The next section down on this dashboard is that list of filings. And one of the things we're very excited to bring to our users, because we know that it's been asked for quite some time, is the column customization. So you will be able to select which 6 columns you want to display in the filing list. And so let's say I didn't really care about sub TOI, but I did care about date created. I could go ahead and make that change. And you'll see in my filing list here, I no longer have the sub TOI column. I do have the date created column. I also have a date created filter, and I no longer have the sub TOI filter. So there is a filter for each column that you can add to help you search for or filter down to find exactly what you're looking for. These changes to the columns that you've selected and the charts will save for the users. So if you make your selections and then log out and log back in, you shouldn't have to make those changes again. Those will save for you. Now I'm going to go into a draft filing to show another one of our new features, which is the pre-submission check. This is a new feature we're very excited about. This is something that you'll be able to run on a draft filing as many times as you would like. And it will show you, it has 2 sections. It has a warning section and an error section. The errors will look very familiar to you because they are the submission, a lot of them are the submission errors that you see today in SERFF. You can see here, this is a brand new draft file that I just created. So I haven't addressed all of my supporting documents. I have some required fields that I haven't completed yet. Those are all very familiar and they exist in the system today. There are some new submission errors based on some new features. One of those new features is an automatic fee calculation. So because we've put in place that feature that the user will need to calculate, kick off that calculation at least once to be able to calculate those fees. So there are a couple of new errors, but for the most part, this section will look very familiar. The new section is the warnings. These are things that the system will let you do, but we're pretty sure they are mistakes. And we wanted to give the filers a heads up before you submit your filing, just as an extra little check to make sure that the filing is actually correct. We're starting with 2 warnings. The first is the one that's showing here, which is the no form schedule items. This will be on filings that have the form schedule tab, but do not have any form schedule items added yet. And this is because we have heard of scenarios where a filing gets accidentally submitted without the forms being added. And we're under the assumption that if the filing has the form schedule tab, it does need form schedule items. So we'll be giving that as the warning, but you can still submit the filing if that warning is in place. If you do that, we will log that in the system just to get a better understanding of how the SERFF platform is being used, so we can help make the system smarter, more streamlined and better, showing you the information you need in the future. The other warning that we have is for excessive fees, because we know that there have been times where maybe somebody forgot to put a decimal point in the right place and paid a lot more money than they meant to. And we know that a lot of those states do not give refunds. So we did some research into where the high end of those fees usually are on a filing and determined a threshold, I believe at $2,000 for a fee. And what we've done is if any individual fee is above that threshold, so it's not the grand total of all your fees, just any individual fee is above that number, then that will show up in this warning section to say that there is an excessive fee, and it gives those details there. Again, you'll still be able to submit the filing if that is correct, but we want to make sure we're helping you catch some of those mistakes before they are submitted. We're starting off fairly small with this pre-submission check, but we expect to expand it as we add more features, more intelligence, more capabilities into the system in order to help you be confident that your filings are being submitted as compliant as possible. I'm going to switch to a different draft filing for the next feature that I want to show, which is our new form schedule process. So as most of you know, when you add a form schedule item today, you enter in a lot of manual data and then you attach the document. Then when you submit that filing, some lucky intake clerk usually is having to open up every single one of those documents and make sure that the information in that document, usually the form number and sometimes the form name, matches from what's in the attachment and what's on the filing. That's a lot of manual work on both sides of the filing submission, and we really wanted to make that process easier and less manually intensive. So now when you're going to add form schedule items, the first thing you'll do is you'll upload the documents. So I'm going to go ahead and open up, and I'm going to upload some documents. And I can select multiple in this window. We know that's a pain point for some of our users today. I can go ahead and select those two and go ahead and add them. Did a little bit of a virus scan there. And you'll see that those two items that I just added are now in a status of processing. This form those forms have now been sent to the AI. This is our first kind of adventure into AI in SERFF. And what it's doing is it's going through a two-step process. The first is classification. We have pre-trained the AI based on some previously submitted compact filings that we know are correct. And so it is looking at the forms that were uploaded and based on training, identifying which form type the attachment that we just uploaded is. Once it's done that, that's the classification. It moves to the next step, which is extraction, where it will be looking in that document and pulling out the form name and the form number. Once it's done going through its process, it will move to a status of to be reconciled. And that's because all of the AI that we're planning to use in the system will be human in the loop. So there will never be a decision that the AI is making that you as a human do not have the ability to correct if there need to be corrections and changes made. So after the AI is finished, you will go into a reconciliation process. This will pull up a preview of the first couple of pages of that document, and you'll see I have the form name and the form number fields. And this is where I'll verify if what it has identified as the form name and form number is correct. Sometimes it identifies it correctly, sometimes it doesn't. As you can see here, the form name it's identified is not the correct form name. And sometimes it won't be able to find it at all, at least at first. So if I notice that there's something that's incorrect, I need to make a correction, I can shift, click, highlight in this document the real form name and go ahead and insert that into that field. And then I want to verify that that form number is correct. It is. And once I've done that, I can go ahead and finish the reconciliation. This reconciliation process continues to train the AI. So when you first get in after that first release, it may be really great at identifying form name and form number in in some form types. It may be not so great. It may be identifying something, but that it's incorrect in others. And there might be some that it's not able to identify at all. As you are doing that reconciliation, you are continuing to train the AI. And so eventually get to a place where it is able to identify form name and form number, and the reconciliation process is just a quick glance at just to make sure everything's okay, and then hitting that submit button. And then you can see after I've reconciled, both of these are the one that I did was successfully added. All right, the last thing I want to talk about in the demo today are changes to the filing review workflow, because we're making quite a few changes here. The first thing I want to highlight is a terminology change. So today in SERFF, you have objections and objection that are added to an objection letter. That objection letter is submitted. Because of some feedback we got from some regulators, we changed that terminology. So now instead of objections, they are compliance issues. And instead of objection letters, they are compliance reports. So a reviewer will create compliance issues. They will add those compliance issues to a compliance report, and the compliance report will be submitted. We've also changed how you're able to view that information on a filing, again, based on feedback from a lot of our users. So what we had found from our users is that most users really care about kind of the meat and potatoes of what's in those objection letters today, those individual objections, the actual comments, the things that need to be addressed. And they don't care as much about kind of the letter piece of it, the wrapping of it. So on the filing review tab in a filing, you will be able to see a list of all of the compliance issues that have been submitted on the filing. Now, if you are somebody that really does want to see the context, all of the compliance issues that were submitted together, we do have a link out to the compliance report. For this test filing, I've only submitted that one compliance report, so all 6 of the compliance issues are included. But you can imagine on a real filing that has had maybe a few compliance reports sent, there would be multiple compliance report numbers, and these the compliance issues in these reports would be different depending on the compliance report. In this view, you'll also be able to see what this compliance issue was related to. We have the standard schedule items. I have a compliance issue for a form schedule item, a compliance issue for one of the supporting documents. And that is similar to how how the reviewers can specify objections today. They can specify if an objection is related to a particular schedule item. They can also today create an objection that is related to no items at all. They can still do that in the system as well. They can relate a compliance issue just to the entire filing, more of a general compliance issue. What we've added to the system is the ability for them to create compliance issues related to the general information fields. So you can see here, we have 2 compliance issues relating to the filing description. They could create compliance issues related to the fees. So they have more flexibility to create compliance issues specified to a specific item on a filing, greater than what they have today. But then you will also get that information for yourself to see. So hopefully that adds more clarity on your side, so you're able to fully understand what they're talking about, what they're referencing on the filing. You'll also see the text of that compliance issue. So their review comments there. The status. So none of these compliance issues have been responded to, so they're all in a status of response required. Again, I already showed that compliance report. And then you'll be able to see the date that that compliance report was sent, the compliance issue was sent over, and the respond by date. So I know this has also been a big pain point for our users, having that respond by date, that due date face up for our users. So that does display face up on the filing, but it also will display face up in another place. And for that, I'm going to switch over back to the dashboard for a quick second and take a look at this task management piece of the dashboard. So task management is a feature that comes out of the box with the Appian platform that we're using. Appian is the low-code tool that we're using to build this new SERFF application on. And task management is a feature that allows you to, it kind of creates to-do lists, lists of tasks, work that needs to be done. There are a couple of different types of tasks that we are using. One of them is an ad hoc task. So if I needed to create a reminder for myself, a task that I needed to do, I could create that in here, and I could relate it to a filing. I could just create a general task if it was just something, more general that I wanted to keep track of. Give it a title, give it a priority, there's a description there, and also a due date, so I can track all of those deadlines together. But I also will assign that task. I could assign it to myself if I'm creating kind of a reminder for myself or want to, really make my task list more comprehensive for me, if that's the best way that I work. But I can also assign it to somebody else. So we're hoping this is a great way for collaboration in the system, because let's say that you have a question on a filing and you really want your colleague to take a look because you don't really understand a compliance issue from a reviewer. I'm sure a lot of that conversation right now is happening in Slack or Teams or email, but that kind of gets separated away from the work that's in SERFF. And so you could create a task related to that specific filing. So you'd put the tracking number in here, you give it a title, you could assign it to your colleague with a description of what you're seeing, what you have a question on. That task would then show up on their task list. So they can see that work kind of in the context of the rest of their tasks that they have and be able to prioritize that and get the full context of the work that they need to do. So we're very excited to provide the ad hoc tasks to our users and see how the different organizations want to utilize the feature. But the other way that we're using tasks are system-generated tasks. So if I go in here and I pull up the tasks just for that submitted filing that I was looking at before, you'll see that I have 4 tasks related to these compliance issues. So when a compliance report is submitted, a task is created for the filing for every item on the filing that has compliance issues. So there were 6 compliance issues, but 2 of them were for the filing description. So there's only 1 task for the filing description. And if I open up that task, you'll see a bullet point with the text for each one of those compliance issues. So you can get that information there. But then you can also see all of those tasks, and if I pull up that filing again, you can see that not only do you have kind of the description of what that task is, you have the link to that filing, you kind of have the status of where it is, the created date. You also have, right now I have it set to number of days until it's due, but I could very quickly add the column for the actual due date. And you'll see I see that respond by date as the due date for the task. Again, making sure that that due date is face up, so you're able to see that, make sure that you're getting those responses in on time. Because of this kind of out-of-the-box task management feature, the statuses will change as you get closer to these due dates. You'll see due soon or overdue. You'll kind of get that feedback. And you'll also be able to see these tasks in relation to tasks on other filings. So hopefully that helps you be able to keep context of the work that is in progress, the work that needs to be done, and you're able to better keep track of the outstanding work that you need to do in SERFF. So going back into that filing, the next thing I want to talk about is how you actually make those changes. How do you make changes on a submitted filing? Well, today in SERFF, we know that we make those changes in numerous ways, right? You've got your post-submission updates, your response letter, your amendment letter, submitting your additional EFT fees, and then if you're changing the company tracking number or status, that's like just an edit or update feature functionality there. We have combined all of those ways to change a filing into one amendment process. So it's not multiple processes anymore. It's just you create an amendment and you can do all of those different types of changes, and you could do them all at the same time if you wanted to. So the first thing you're going to do when you're creating an amendment is you're going to select which sections of the filing you want to add to the amendment. And this will just help you kind of keep track of what you're changing. You don't have to include everything if you're not changing everything. For me today, I'm just going to do an amendment for the general information. Now I can add more sections to an amendment once it's created. So you'll see I have an add sections availability here. So if I started with the general information, but then I decided I also wanted to add some of those supporting document changes, I could very quickly add that supporting document section. I also have the tracking number and could go back to the filing if I need to. So you'll see all of those general information fields that can be edited. And the one that has the compliance issue, that filing description has the little icon, so you're able to see which items on a filing do have those open compliance issues that need to be addressed. But I'm just going to go through and make a couple of changes. So project name is something that I didn't fill out when I submitted this filing. But I'm going to go ahead and add a project name. It also doesn't have a compliance issue, so this would be more of that voluntary change. I can go ahead and add that change description and save that. So I've got, old value was nothing, got that new value, got that change description. I can also go ahead and change one of those industry only fields. And then finally, I'm going to change the filing description and respond to those compliance issues. So I've got my filing description text. I'm going to add a sentence here. I'm also going to show off this rich text formatting by making it the color blue and bolding it. And then change my change description. And then I see the open compliance issues that are associated with the filing description, and I'll need to choose a response method. So I'm going to choose that I am responding to both of these compliance issues with the change that I have made to that item. Now, I wanted to pause here for a second and talk about an area that we've actually added some flexibility for our industry filers. So today, when you get a response letter or you get an objection letter, you have to, and you're sending a response letter, you have to respond to all of the objections that are in that objection letter at the same time. We know that that does not always happen, whether that's because you are maybe not ready to respond to everything, or you just missed something. And that can cause a lot of back and forth with the reviewers. And so what we wanted to do was add some more flexibility there. So in the new system, you do not have to respond to all of the open compliance issues that are open on the filing at the same time. If you wanted to send an amendment and just address the compliance issues on general information fields like I'm doing today, you can do that. If you just wanted to, if you wanted to then do another amendment that addresses the form schedule compliance issues, you could do that as well. The only restrictions that we're making is that if an individual item, in this case the filing description, has multiple open compliance issues at the same time, you have to address both of those at the same time. So if I try to say I only want to address this first one and then go ahead and save, I'm going to get an error and it won't let me. So I have to address both of them, but then I can go ahead and save. So this is going to allow you the flexibility to, if you get a compliance report that's got a handful of compliance issues for general information, a handful for some form schedule items, and let's say those general information fixes are really quick and easy and you just want to get those out of the way, but the form schedule changes are going to take a little bit longer. Maybe they need to be sent out to a different department for review. You could do the general information fixes first, and then follow that up with changes to the form schedule items afterwards. Now, the process for how those changes are applied to a filing is a little bit different. Every change that you make on a filing in the new system, except for changes to the industry only field, so the status and the tracking number, will be considered pending changes. So once I submit this amendment, I can go ahead and do that now. Those changes those changes to the project name and the filing description will be available for review to the reviewer, similar to how post-submission update works today, and they will be able to accept or decline those changes. If they accept those changes will go into effect on the filing. If they decline the changes, they will not. But because you're allowed to make multiple different kinds of changes in the same amendment, if I go back to the filing, you can see that that industry tracking number is on the filing now. Because that's a direct edit change, it doesn't need approval from the reviewer. But you'll notice that that filing description change has not been made. So a lot of changes to that review workflow, but we're hoping the added flexibility and also the condensing all of the ways to update into one workflow helps train new users, helps you be able to make, maybe there's changes to a form schedule item and the filing description that relate to one another. You're able to make those on the same amendment and keep that context together. We're really hoping that really helps our users in the long term, even though it is going to be a big change and there will be a learning curve. But with that, that is what I wanted to demo today. I hope it's a good, I know it was very fast and pretty high level, but I hope it gets you excited about the possibilities in the new platform. And for that, I'm going to talk about what you can prepare for the first release. So the first thing I wanted to highlight is our new SERFF logo. We wanted a new and improved, modernized look for our new modern application. We worked with the communications department at the NAIC. They designed this logo for us and we're very happy with it. It'll also help you differentiate communications between the two different platforms. So if it has this new logo, it's the SERFF Appian, the new platform. If it's the old logo, it's about the legacy platform. We also want to share information about the timeline. That's the next question we always get. And we've split up the rollout for the new platform by business type. The compact is going first. Those compact filings are a fairly small business section in SERFF, so it's a great way to get our feet wet, for the first release. Also, the compact has been a great business partner for us. We couldn't have done it without them. They've been great. We couldn't have asked for anything more. That first release is scheduled for November of this year. And then we anticipate that every other business type will follow in about 6 to 8 month increments. So life annuity and credit will go next because there's quite a bit of overlap with the compact business there. And then property and casualty, and then health and plan management. As we get closer to health and plan management, I always want to highlight that we do know that there are some sensitive timelines and deadlines related to filings in the health and plan management space. So as we get closer to those releases, we will be mindful of that. But that is our project timeline. You might have noticed on that timeline, and some of you may work in multiple business types. So you may be somebody that files to the compact, but also files life filings to states. And for this, we will enter a period of coexistence where you will be using, both platforms will run concurrently. And for many users, you will be in multiple platforms at the same time. So after that first release, if you are a compact filer and somebody that does state filings, you will do your compact filings in the new platform and you will do your state filings in the SERFF legacy platform. So, and that will continue until the end of the project, until all of the business types are moved over. So if you hear us talk about coexistence, that is what we're talking about. What does our first release look like? Well, it looks like we're going to bring down the legacy system at around 5 p.m. Central on a Friday. We will be bringing it down for all users during this release weekend because since we're doing a data migration, we really need that data to not be changing out from under us. So we'll be unavailable for all users. Right after that system is brought down, we will begin code deployments and data migration for the new platform, and we'll start verifying that migration and that deployment success. And then the plan is at the end of that weekend, by Monday at 7 a.m., the new platform will be up and ready for use for all of our users that will be using the new platform. And the legacy system will be back online for everyone who will still be using the legacy system. Day one after our first release, these are going to be the impacted users. Our Compact staff will do most, if not all, of their work in the new platform. Any of our Compact member state regulators who view Compact filings will view those filings in the new platform. Any of the industry filers that file to the Compact, you will create those filings, work on open filings in the new platform. And then we are writing a new public portal for public filings in the new platform. So if any interested parties view public Compact filings on SERFF Filing Access, SFA today, they will view those public Compact filings on the new public portal. And then our NAAC staff, support staff, will be in the new platform, learning it and there to support our users. It's a big change, and a lot of people are going to be affected, so we really want to make sure that we are providing a ton of communication and a lot of outreach to our users so that everybody is well prepared for the transition and the rollout. For our industry filers, what this looks like is that we have identified the industry instances that will be impacted because they are Compact filing. We've done that by identifying any instance that has a company that registered in 2024 or submitted a Compact filing in 2023. So if your industry instance falls into one or both of those categories, they have been identified for key contacts. We have already identified key contacts for all of those instances and have started reaching out. These contacts will help distribute information to other users. We'll be using them as points of contact. So we will share information with them and rely on them to spread the information to the rest of the users in their organizations. We're using this method because there are a ton of industry users, and we really think this is the most effective way to communicate. We will also rely on these key contacts to collect feedback and information from their users and then funnel that back to us. So really going to rely on them. But then we are continuing to provide general communication in multiple forums. We've presented at LHCA, AICP events, the Insurance Summit, and we also are speaking at the AICP annual conference next week. We also hold a monthly SERFF Product Steering Committee meeting. This is open to anybody to join, and it always involves an update on the project. We've actually been doing quite a few demos recently of the new platform. We also usually have an engagement activity. This is a few questions on a few different topics, depending on what we want feedback on at the time, but it's a great way to stay involved, stay up to date on the project, especially if you're in one of those business types like P&C or health that is not going to move over for quite some time. It's a great way to kind of stay involved. And if you are not attending the SERFF Product Steering Committee meetings and you want to be added to the email list, please email our project email address. This is maybe the longest email address I've ever seen, but it is serffmodernizationquestions@naic.org. This is also where if you have any questions that we are not able to answer today in the chat, you can send those questions to this email address and we will follow up with you. Next topic we want to talk about is training. We're going to split up the training for a few different methods. For the user management piece, this is mostly going to be recorded and written training materials because the user management workflows are fairly simple and fairly straightforward. Our Compact staff and member state regulators will be trained by our project team, and then our industry users will be trained by our NAIC Education and Training Department. We will be providing live virtual training for the Compact members. I believe we have spots for 2 people per instance to attend training. And then we will kind of using a train the trainer model where we'll provide training kind of get those people as super users, really give them a lot of information, and then ask them to train the rest of their users. Not only does this help us, again, with the large number of industry users that we have in the platform, but we also know that the organizations that use SERFF have their own processes and will have their own way that they want to utilize some of these features, both the existing functionality that exists in SERFF today and is transferring over, but also some of these new features. And doing a train the trainer model allows for that customization so that organizations can train for the new features, kind of how they would like to utilize them. All of this training will be supplemented with recorded and written training materials that will be available. So there will be lots of information. And then there will be no fees for the training for the first release. After that first release, we will enter a warranty period for November and December, where we'll be focused on a few different items. The first is to address any migration questions and issues. The data migration will consist of, we will be migrating all open compact filings and closed compact filings, but we will not be migrating over any draft compact filings or draft components on filings. So as we get closer to the release, you'll want to be thinking about, if you have a draft filing, you'll want to be thinking about, do you go ahead and get that submitted in the old system before the release, or do you wait and do it in the new system? Similarly, if you have a draft amendment letter, response letter, you'll want to make the same calculation. We also will not be removing any of those filings from the SERFF legacy system after the first release. They will just be turned to read only. So you will, day one after the first release, you will be able to pull up the same filing in the legacy system and the new system. We're hoping this helps you be able to kind of verify that that data migrated over correctly. But also, we're hoping this helps you learn the new system, because you'll be able to see, some of the data will be in different places. And so you'll be able to kind of look at where it was in the old system, where it is in the new system. We're hoping this helps shorten the learning curve there. But very quickly, that data in the legacy platform will become stale, because as those open filings that are migrated over have, compliance issues and amendments sent on them, that information will be changing. But hoping this gives a little bit of peace of mind, right after that first release. We'll also be assisting our users with the new features. Again, we hope the training and communication that we provide, really gives you the information and the know-how to how to navigate these new features. But we understand there's probably going to be some questions, so we'll be on hand to help with that. We also, again, hope that we release and there's 100% no problems and everything works perfectly fine. But realistically, you always want to be prepared in case there needs to be some hot fixes. So we'll be doing those if necessary. And then we'll be establishing a release cadence. We want this to be in weeks, not months. We are working with our development team. We're challenging them to hopefully be able to release every 2 weeks. And this will not only be addressing some of those bug fixes that don't go into the hot fixes, but also continue to build on the features of the system. Introducing new features, really expanding some of the features that we do implement in the first release, continue to bring you great functionality. And then there's no rest for us as the project team. We will maybe take a couple of days off in December, but then we'll be quickly working on phase 3.2, which is those life annuity and credit state filings. And just to finish up here, as I wrap it up, looking forward to phase 3.2, we'll be building on the foundations, kind of our motto going forward after the first release. So it's got 3 main areas here. We'll be adjusting. So we'll be listening to that feedback of our users that are using the new platform from release 1. So collecting that feedback, rolling out improvements, workflow improvements, UI things, things to make the system better from a usability perspective and also to help improve those features. We'll also be extending that functionality. So extending out all of those features, and so they're not just compact filings, also into the life annuity and credit state filings. Really extending that out into that 3.2 business type, and then we will continue to be introducing new features into the system throughout the project, phase 3.2 and beyond. So I know there's a lot of information that was went by very fast, at least for me. But we'll now see a couple of minutes for questions. Renee, are there any questions in the chat that Bridget did not get to?
Not so far. She's been staying on top of those.
Awesome.
But we can leave it open for a few more minutes and see if anyone has any questions they'd like to submit.
All right. While we're waiting, if any new questions, just want to thank everybody for attending.
So we do have just a few more minutes. So I do want to thank all the attendees that have joined us here today. And for any regulators that are on, we do have a regulator SERFF modernization session that's starting in 10 minutes, that if you can jump over for that. But for everyone else, we hope to see you next week in person at the conference. So far, a lot of thank yous, Lauren, but no questions.
Awesome.
Right, great. Well, we will go ahead and end. So thank you, Lauren. We appreciate your all the information that you gave us, and we'll see everyone next week. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.